And hello, good people of the internet. It is I, Tommy Kelly. This is Adventures in Woo, and this is part 2 of the monthly Patreon 47 one-card divinations that we do every month. Usually not in 2 parts, but there was a lot of questions this time. So let's get into this. First question comes from David. How can I make more money? The protector. By being protective of the money you already have. By making sure that there's not kind of any leaks or there's not kind of stuff going out that you, that you don't need to be doing. One of the things that I did when I was trying to do what it is that I do now and make it sustainable was try to cut down on costs and make things not as expensive as they needed to be. And where was the places where I could make changes so that it didn't cost as much to actually do all of these things, that to sustain this it wasn't that expensive. So protect yourself around money. Don't be giving money away in places you don't need to. Don't be allowing money leak out in places where it doesn't. And then when you kind of look after that bit, the theory goes then that you can capitalize on that and build up on that. So protection around money seems to be the advice there. Kira, I started a path of spiritual, personal and physical transformation this month to become the powerful person I want to be. Good for you. I'm still putting pieces, plans and synchronicities together. Do the servants have any advice for me? The balancer. Well, so just to be balanced about it, don't do anything to the neglect of other things, to make sure everything is in its place. That also sometimes when we bring in some discipline or something like that in, that we kind of forget to have fun or we forget to enjoy ourselves, or it becomes a bit like to break it becomes a taboo. That's something you've set up a rule for yourself that you just can't break. And you should also be a bit more malleable with that, but make sure that everything is in balance, that you're working towards all the different areas of your life, not just the bits that you feel that need to be improved, but the things that need to be sustained, the things that need to be kept, the parts of your life that need to be watered and looked after. One way of kind of looking at a balancing, which I quite like, is doing each of the elements. Make sure you're doing something in the earth, maybe make sure you're doing something in air, make sure you're doing something in fire, make sure you're doing something in water, spiritual, as above, so below, all that stuff. So just come at it from a balanced point of view, and that should sort you out. Glenn, in what area should I focus my practice this month? The depleted. So have a look at things that are finished, that no longer serve you, that are over, and try and either move on from or remove it from, taking any more of your energy or your time. The natural cycle of these things is some things end and some things are no longer good for us. So, the energy has been removed from a particular situation or relationship or job or whatever it is. So just kind of focus on that. What are the bits that are over and that you can leave behind, that you no longer need, that no longer serve you, and are void of energy, and just try to first recognize them and then move on from them. Craig, which archetype is the most beautiful to amplify between me and JM? The I. So, to whatever it is, to let it develop at its own pace, its own thing. It is what it should be. You don't need to force it. You don't need to add to it. You don't need to try to improve it, take away from it, do anything. Just allow it to be whatever it is. To let it blossom in its own way, or to allow it to be the plant that wants to let it be the idea, the relationship, whatever it is. Just allow it to be as it is without trying to force it to be something else. That's the advice. Lynn, what do I need more of in my life right now? The road opener. So new things, like kind of new avenues of expression, new avenues of where you can move into, like new opportunities, your exact question. What do I need more of in my life right now? Yeah, some freshness, some new kind of approach, maybe do a road opening spell, to look for new opportunities, new ways of doing things. Now, the road opener works very well with the gatekeeper as well, and all of these type of things, or even the contemplator, the explorer, the adventurer, all of these kind of things, just broaden your horizons, opening new things. Work with Ganesha himself as his role as obstacle removal. And yeah, just some new kind of freshness, new ideas, new opportunities, new removal of obstacles, getting things out of your way, clearing the path. And yeah. Felix, which servant would aid me best to achieve my goals this month? The messenger. So have a look at your communication, how you're talking to other people, how you're being heard by other people, or are your messages getting out there? Are you receiving the messages that you think you should be getting? Oftentimes a messenger can be a signifier of someone's trying to tell you something, but you're not listening. Not always, of course, but it is one of the main things. So have a listen to what has been told to you this month. You know, reflected in other people, not just necessarily people saying things to you, but you know, how the themes that come up in TV shows, music, the things that surround you. What is something that's been trying to be said to you? And just be aware of the flow of communication towards you and how you are communicating to other people. And because it's to do with your goals, whatever your goal is, what's the communication within that? Have a look at that. Miriam, how do I reconcile with supposedly negative parts, and how do I integrate them as supporting partners? Okay, so the fortunate. So I suppose this is kind of saying is rather than seeing them as something that went wrong or something that's bad or something that needs to be shunned or removed, see them as fortunate things. Now that's very hard to do in many ways because these are things that we are literally trying to remove, work past, integrate, or whatever it is. But in order to integrate it, you have to accept it. You have to see it as part of yourself. I know myself in my journey in shadow work, there was an awful lot of particularly when I was told in therapy that you had to kind of be righteously angry at parts of yourself, your shadow self, your inner critic or whatever's your damaged self, and kind of that just made it push it further away and externalize it for me, that it was like me and it. And then through some of the experiences I've had, the integration was no calling it back home and seeing it as part of you and love it and accept it and want it to be there. Because that's what it's looking for, an awful lot of the shadow stuff, is to be loved, accepted, rather than shunned and cast aside. So the fortunate would kind of say to see this damaged stuff as fortunate, not necessarily because it happened, but because you recognize it now and it's something you can take home and something you can integrate and love and be thankful for. Not because it happened again, not because, you know, that's not to excuse the darkness or to say that you want the darkness or it was good that it happened, but it's good that you recognize it now and it's good that you can integrate it. So feel it as fortunate work rather than negative work that has to be, you know, painfully integrated or something. Be thankful for it. Hard. It's very hard. Vera, what do I need to focus on in my spiritual practice this month? The adventurer. Getting actually out and doing things. Rather, we can spend a lot of time thinking about things, worrying about things, you know, planning things, revising things, learning things and all that. But the adventure would say, get out and actually do something with your spiritual practice. Be sitting at home, meditating, hanging out in the jhanas, and, you know, but all good. But go out and do it. Go touch a tree, go hug a tree, go hang out in the forest, go do something like that. It's a call to do something physical actually out there. Christoph, as I looked at your question, I got a card, and it is the Desperate. So we'll just put that to the side and see. Inspired by John Higgs' KLF book and Robert Anton Wilson, I keep seeing 23 on a daily basis. I feel it's magical, as would Raw and John Higgs and everyone else, I suppose. What can the 47s tell me what this could mean? Okay. The Adventurer popping up once again. The Adventurer with the kind of thing, the chaser of the desperate in regards to 23. Well, I would say that seeing these things, the 23, the synchronicities that come around it, is a call to adventure, to do something. But to be aware, I suppose, that there is an element of, if you go too deep into it, that it can make you go a bit crazy, a bit mad, feel a bit desperate, because you're kind of frantically going, what does it mean? What does it mean? But instead see it as an adventure, see it as winks and nods from the universe, see it as kind of, something along the way, rather than trying to fully work it out. Like the mystery in the sense of spirituality and all this is not necessarily something that needs to be solved. It's to be experienced, to live through, to engage with, rather than trying to necessarily understand it or solve it or get the answer. So if you're trying to see the answer of 23, then in a sense you're missing the point of it, which is the call to adventure, not the call to solve it. That's what I think is at play there. Okay. Lehman, what are the barriers to me coming to full knowledge and understanding of my holy guardian angel? The thinker. So the barriers is thinking, because that's what you asked. So overthinking, being too rational, not allowing the woo in a sense, like just thinking about how this. Most oftentimes when we're doing this kind of work, we can kind of think, this is stupid. This is not what. How could anyone believe this? And that can be, in this sense, for you, the cards are suggesting that is the barrier, that you might be overthinking it or over-rationalizing it or thinking of it in a way and trying to engage it in a way that doesn't allow for the end result that you want. You're not going to rationally work this out. There's a fate to it, I suppose. There's a mystery to it. There's an allowance, surrendering. It's kind of almost in a sense the opposite of rational. It isn't rational. You want it to be not irrational where you just kind of, or fate in a sense of blind belief or whatever. But it's that leap of faith, that stepping out into the unknown with the hope that you'll be caught. Or the understanding that you will be caught, but not try to kind of work it out in a rational, intellectual, bullet point kind of way. So I just want to double check that I didn't forget anyone. I'm pretty sure I have everyone. If, however, because I split this into two and I have missed out on your question, just let me know and I'll pull a card off camera and send you what I think it means. So, good people of the internet, we do this every month here on the channel and on the podcast. If you want in on it, just join the Patreon. And at the beginning of the month, usually the 1st or sometimes the 31st of the previous month, I put up the post over on Patreon saying for you to leave your questions. And then over the next couple of days, I will pick out a card and explain how I think the servants or answering your question. But of course, you also will have your interpretation of what the servant is trying to say to you, and that should be listening to. But with all divination, you should only ever see it as something to consider rather than the actual word of God, to stop it becoming a prophecy, unless of course that's what you want to do, and that's part of your magic. But it's just that if you didn't get the answer you want, it doesn't necessarily mean it isn't the answer. It's just something to consider, as if you had had shared it with a friend. This is the advice that they had give you. Again, not the word of God, just something to consider. If you'd like to help me out in other ways, there's a whole list of things that you can do, from sharing the videos, liking the videos, commenting on the videos. All of that really helps, to joining the Patreon, sending a donation on PayPal, buying a book, comic, t-shirt, signing up for the newsletter, or any of these things. All of that's in the show description. So, good people of the internet, until next time, be well and may our best days be ahead.